Hi everyone, this is going to be a little bit of a long past big winner video because this trade started out being a botch trade from the beginning. So I've already posted LQDT and explained how that was the first nice setup of 2012 that was actionable from a classical technical pattern. This technically was the very first setup of 2012 that looked great. My problem here, why I passed on 1312, which I never would today, if this signal right here shows up today with all that previous pocket pivot point buy signals, I'm going long. The problem with me at this time, I know for a fact, was the NASDAQ and the lower volume move off the low. I believe that the 200-day moving average would have acted as resistance, so FLT was passed on that day simply because of my bias to the market after a horrible 2011. A very, very bad year for me for my stock market returns. So I get this signal immediately, and normally, right now, if this signal happens right here, right now with the market in the current condition we in with New York Stock Exchange stocks leading, this signal is easily going to be a 10% to 20% signal. Probably not a 20% signal because we do not have above average volume in the overall stock market, but still, this is a 10% signal with the max green bop, volume surge, pocket pivot point buy signals, and price move. The signal that we did take was 1512. It also gives a pocket pivot point signal, extremely above average volume, max green bop. Normally, this would be a 10% add signal or 5% add signal. Instead, it was a 5% new long signal. So this is when we first initiated our position in FLT. Now FLT trended up nicely, but because of 2011, guess who's trading scared? This guy. So what you're seeing right here in FLT with this down day on February 13th is a day where price is still trending above the 5-day moving average and 10-day and 20-day moving average. Therefore, what you see right here normally would never be a sell signal. But because I was scared after the 2011 market, despite the NASDAQ hitting a new 2012 high that day, FLT's reversal with the red bop and heavy volume had me selling 25%. It moved up slightly, and then the next thing I knew, there was another big down day, and I decided to go ahead and sell all of my position on March 6th. Why? It doesn't make any sense. The only thing that makes sense is that I was trading scared. I believe that all of the red action in this stock indicated that it was definitely going to top. Meanwhile, the NASDAQ isn't really rolling over. It's still trending above its 50-day moving average, and now LQDT is a new long position. So getting back to FLT, we're now completely out of FLT. Now, did I miss out on anything? No, this time not around. It started to move higher, and then it starts to come back down, and technically if we're still long based on true sell signals that we use today, our first sell on FLT will come right here. So 518, probably not 518 because of the low volume. So right here, no matter what, with FLT, I'm probably out because it's now completely rolling over from the previous highs in May on heavy volume, and there's just a lot of red bop and now distribution in the chart. So I'm out of FLT here if I didn't fully sell out in March. So FLT continues to go along. As you can see, it really gets ugly actually a little bit later on into June. Finds support of the 200-day moving average, starts trending higher, and now we have a new signal in FLT. So this FLT position was good, but I'm still affected overall from 2011, and right now my trading has gone from taking big positions in stocks that I feel have the greatest potential for gains into now I'm piecemealing trades. So stocks like LQDT I'm out of because it didn't continue higher. The NASDAQ is currently breaking out to a new high, so that's great. So I got total confirmation on FLT. Despite the breakout on the NASDAQ on heavy volume, I'm still a little nervous. So FLT's breakout only becomes a 2.5% of my total capital signal. Big mistake because FLT turns out to be an amazing stock and does very, very well. And as it moves higher, it trends higher with not a single problem in sight. The only thing that a mistake was made on my end is that here, for some odd reason, once again, not making any sense, I actually sold part of my position here. Why would I ever do that now? I wouldn't. But this is a byproduct of trading scared after 2011. And don't forget, after the 20% loss in 2011, I lost about 10% in 2012, slightly under 10%. So even though I had winning stocks like LQDT earlier, FLT, and new ones that we'll show later on, my win-loss ratio was going from 70% to 60 to 70% was my average win-loss ratio. That's documented on the website. And my gains to losers were always 3.5 to 4 to 1. That's completely flipped on its head. We're only right about half the time, sometimes less, and we're only about 2 to 1 right now. So my trading strategy has really gotten off course here, and smaller positions and random sells is a byproduct of that. FLT continues to move higher, and as it continues to work its way higher in February, we get a big move up on super strong volume. The stock is now very, very extended, so this is actually a good sell signal, and I sold more of FLT off. As FLT continues to move higher, everything is looking fine with the stock, and then it starts to show a little bit of weakness, and once again, for no apparent reason, because it's finding support at the 50-day moving average, and since our initial long position, we are now up 66%, have over 50% gain, which is minimal compared to the old days before 2008, but is very solid nowadays. So this also is a mis-sell by me, never should have been sold here. Holds the 50-day moving average and continues higher. And as you can see, all is working well with here. It starts to get a little nervous and starts to act a little funky. But right here, why I end up not selling any is because once it breaks the 50-day moving average here intraday, I now have a big enough gain that I am wanting to see it how it acts around the 50-day moving average. The close right here on heavier volume is above the lows of these two sessions, and FLT reverses its way back higher, and on we go. And FLT continues to trend higher, and then we get into October, and we have a pretty big down day right here on the 8th, but it finds support the 50-day moving average, so there's no sell. And as we move on, it starts to now get a little fun, a little kind of crazy acting, but still, right, okay, now we're at the point where we now to get rid of it. So it's starting to act fine and everything. We're starting to, see a lot of red bops show up in the chart, which is more than we've seen before. And now it starts to appear to be rolling over here in January. Now this, despite the market that overall appeared to be healthy, but we're starting to get some distribution days on the NASDAQ, and leading stocks are starting to act faulty across the board, not just FLT. So FLT sells off, finds intraday support, but now is down again on big volume, but it's still holding above that intraday low, so there's no sell. But now it breaks it on heavier volume, triggering another sell signal. By this point, I don't have much of FLT left, and this goes to another missed trade on my end. It then falls again here on the 21st. This is another sell signal. Now here's where I technically should have sold it all if I was going to base on a heavier volume close but the 50-day moving average. But instead, because I had a gain still in this stock, let's go back one more, from our September breakout, we are now still up over 100, and we're still up 135%. I was going to use the 200-day moving average as my final sell signal. However, it decides to try to bounce on heavier volume on the 22nd, has an intraday reversal, and then slams lower on heavier volume on the 27th, where I decide to fully sell all of FLT, still locking a 100% profit. Why is it a mistrade? Because the stock finds support at the 200-day moving average, which is where I was supposed to hold it until it broke. Now it's moving higher again. Now everything's fine. Now as we see here, we're testing the 200-day moving average again. Two intraday support reversals off of it in April. We're moving higher. We're testing it again. We're moving off of it, and now we're moving higher. And what is right here, we had to do it again. So there's one more test of that area, but we still hold those lows, and we move higher. And what is FLT doing today? It's hitting new highs. Technically, that all being said, we should still, at Big Wave Trading, be long FLT with a current 194% gain. And in all honesty, what would have been really great if we could have done, if this wouldn't have been the choppy QE environment, I have a feeling that that signal at the beginning of 2012 would have held true, and we would still be long from that very beginning signal with a 328% gain. These were the kind of returns we used to get before quantitative easing environment. A lot of lessons learned. Hopefully we won't have to make the same mistakes. Aloha. Thank you.